Welcome back for part 3 of how to underpaint with water-soluble oil pastels. Let's see what we got here. I'm noticing that even though the light's strong enough to have very strong contrasts in the foliage, there's no shadows. So that's the next thing that needs to go in. Let's use a bit of violet in the shadows. That'll be good for toning some of these other things too. Now this violet is a red violet, but we can blue it out a bit more just by mixing in blue or green. It's still a lot better than not having the violet. So now that we've got shadows, things look a little more three-dimensional. Let's add a little violet to the mountains in the background too. We'll just go lightly over them. This will change the hue, which is what color it is, and make it a little different from the dark blues, which are going to turn to green anyway in the trees. Now, since we did get these mountains way too dark compared to the sky, let's start burnishing over them with some white. Now you can see that the purple that I shaded over it with has changed the color quite a bit. The white is lightening them. They're still visible against the sky, but they're not quite so dramatic as they were, and the dark parts of the trees are darker. We can also use the white right up into the sky to soften the edges, because things in the distance have softer edges than stuff seen close up where you can see them in detail. And just shade up with the white over the sky blue, re-establishing that lighter at the horizon sky. Now little variations are fine because they just look like you've got more little wisp clouds. You know, when you look at clouds you see a little bit of transparency and they'll drift off into the distance some. So let's shade the sky with white, and we're going to start getting a nice lighter sky blue with it. Go loosely up here over the top part, but we want to establish a consistent drawn texture over the whole sky. And now I'm going to go back to the sky blue and start shading down again from the top, carefully working around some of these semi-clouds. See, we've got these nearly white clouds going. And then we've got lighter areas of the sky, and then we've got actual white clouds happening here and there. Shade, 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 just a little bit. Looks like the clouds vary in their thickness. Burnish back over it with white, and you can still see some value differences, but it's not as distinct. You don't want the sky texture to be grainy. You want the sky texture to look nice and smooth. That'll contrast when we get to the good textures down on the foliage and things. One of the other things about painting is work from background to foreground. I'm going to get the sky right first, and then we'll start moving forward to these other things. Now, we have these clouds. They have a completely different texture. They haven't been drawn on. So let's get a little bit of yellow, and they're dry, on the sunlight parts of the clouds. Do that very lightly. Get a little more of our violet here for some shadows under the clouds. And then back to the blue to mix with the violet, because that violet is really way too reddish. And then we're going to burnish over the clouds again with white, very harshly, just to blend everything together. If necessary, we'll go back and put some more water over it, but I think this may work just with the burnishing. Ah yeah, we're starting to see the clouds get a prettier texture. For burnishing, I'm going over the clouds with a soft circular motion and blurring the outlines quite a bit. I want those shapes to start wandering around. Be careful how you hold the stick, because mine just broke in half from my leaning it on my hand a little too hard. But I still got two good pieces of white here. I'm sure I can use them both. Or possibly just stick them in the microwave and glue them back together. Alrighty, we got half a white here. It'll be easier to handle. I am going to have to slightly blend these cloud colors just to get rid of the distinct marks and get the cloud shadows looking a little better. Notice what happens when you've got white in the mixture. You start getting a very opaque color. You also get beautiful soft edges. Clouds are fluffy. Clouds are not something that would have a transparency to it. And when I go back in with more white over an area that's flowing mist, they're fog that's off the ground. So when we want to lighten them or have a sense of mistiness, it's good to have soft edges. And if we scrape off some of the other color, then we've got places between the clouds. Oh, that's nice. Turning the stick is making a nice cloud effect here with a stronger white. I think the sky's about done here. Thank you for joining me for the three-part series, Underpainting with Water-Soluble Oil Pastels. We'll continue this project in painting a landscape in water-soluble oil pastels for the next video, but we're leaving underpainting behind. Now we'll get on to doing the actual painting. Harry and I thank you. He sheds cat hairs of inspiration on you. Have fun.